Now, I want to be honest, right? Before, Moon Girl's never been a favorite character of mine. I kind of avoided the show because I was like, "Ah, I don't really much care for Moon Girl." Then I gave it a shot, and I was kind of blown away. I was like, I did not expect this to be nearly as good as it is. So I want to congratulate you guys on just doing such a great job with the show.
Thank you.
And I'm happy that I finally got to watch it. When it comes to season two, what is the most unique element that it's going to have that season one didn't?
Well, season one of Moon Girl was about Lunella LaFayette becoming a superhero. Season two is about her being a superhero. So it's a lot of different challenges. One, because now that the public knows her, the villains are leveling up against her. The conflict between her superheroing life and her family life is coming to a head because trying to keep the secret is extremely stressful for a 13-year-old, or for anybody, frankly. And her friendships are put to the test because of all of this conflict going on around her. So it's a big season for Lunella Lafayette, but we still have plenty of comedy and plenty of music. But yeah, it's going to be a journey.
Yeah. Now, speaking of music, the music in the series is phenomenal. Can you talk about the process of producing those original songs?
Yeah, it all starts with the script, and what the subject of the episode is about. And we'll meet with Raphael Sadiq, who's our executive music producer, and we kind of describe what this particular mixtape moment is about. Is it about anxiety, about the stresses of not being able to be everything, not be able to be everything to everyone, or something abstract or whatever, very specific. And then sometimes we'll give them like, maybe it sound like Parliament Funkadelic, or we don't tell them anything at all. We just kind of tell them what the mixtape is about, and then he'll come and he'll just send us something that's like incredible, and we go, oh yeah, that's it, because he'll just like, I'd say like 99.999% of the time, it's like it's always on point.
Yeah.
And then with the score, it's just like we get the animation back, and then there's always temporary score that the directors put on the episode. So then when we screen the episode for Raphael, and he'll watch it, and as we go along, we talk about each scene. It's like, oh, this particular moment, this is what we're thinking about for the mood or everything, and then he'll craft the score around what he's looking at, and it's just a bumping score.
Yeah, no, I mean, I still have the Beyonder song from season one on repeat.
Yeah.
So,
So
uh, in the comics, Moon Girl is known to be an Inhuman, and so I wanted to ask you guys, why did you guys choose to, at least so far, omit that particular detail, and could fans ever see it addressed in the series?
Well, I mean, everything, media that gets translated from one form to another is going to go through probably, some pretty drastic changes depending on what kind of story you want to tell. And there was definitely a direction we wanted to go with this show with a relatable 13-year-old. And I felt like that issue was something where it kind of pulled away from her relatability as an everyday superhero whose superpower is her brain. So we definitely pulled, some aspects from the comic because we love it, but we definitely went our own way in other directions to make sure that it worked for this medium. And Marvel has been an incredible partner through all of this because they've understood why we're changing and what direction we were going in.
Now, the show is, remarkably unique, both with its distinctive style and voice. But as you guys create the series, do you ever find yourselves working to avoid similarities to other projects?
Well, do we avoid similarities? I think that we stand out on our own.
Yeah.
And we're not really looking at other shows as reference. Our whole idea is to take something and just take it, and then how can we take it even further visually? So a lot of it is just not handcuffing our artist in terms of like what visually we can or can't do. So
Yes.
that it's a lot more freedom of it. So with that freedom comes a lot of imagination, a lot of creativity. So we benefit from that.
And also, it does feel like we love the Spider-Verse films, 100%. So we're big fans of that. But we wanted to recognize that we need to do something that is on this level but different, because we don't want to copy Spider-Verse. No one can copy
And
Spider-Verse.
on a TV budget.
And
Yeah.
on the TV budget. But we also really leaned into a lot of, where Rodney and I came from. We were both from New York. We were both from a time period in New York pre-gentrification, where art was kind of the dominant part of New York City. You had graffiti, you had murals, you had poetry readings and, Tompkins Square Park and Washington Square. So it's kind of the type of thing where we really wanted to capture a mood and a tone, and not really look at other stuff. But with that being said, we're huge fans of animation, movies, and TV shows. So I'm sure a lot of different influences have found their way into the show.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say that the show, I mean, not only does it look amazing, but it definitely looks more expensive than your general TV show budget. So,
That's
um,
because
Catch that dollar. We really
we do a lot of, like, in terms of how we produce, it's almost like we're doing a feature. Like each episode is treated like a feature. We do like color scripts for the scenes of the show. So it's like, finding the tone and the mood and the colors for each scene. So really being very particular in how we stage things and how things are colored and like that. So each is like a mini feature.
now, when it comes to animating Devil Dinosaur, what are some of those unique references that the team uses to make him as emotive and unique as he is? What is that performance process like?
Well, Jose Lopez, who designed the character, is incredible, and Kat Kazmala, who's our animation lead, is also really incredible, and they communicate a lot. Because Devil, as a design, looks like he can have some limitations. He has that thick lower jaw, which feels like, okay, you can't get a lot of mouth direction or really exaggerated expressions out of that. But we kind of break rules left and right. I've worked on a number of shows way back where the model sheet didn't really exist. You had the line of dialogue and you had a voice record and you just drew to whatever made that the funniest version of that, of that voice and that image. So I think that's a lot of what we do here. You'll definitely see that we break the model a lot for expressions and sight gags. And Devil Dinosaur, though he is rooted in some real dinosaur anatomy, we tend to really push and pull him to make the scene work.
This is still a cartoon, so there are times where you have like his little hands just kind of rise up out of the screen,
Yeah.
do something. So and it's also with the vocal talents of Fred Tatasciore, who is Devil. So you get that emotion out of this character, and it helps for the animators to kind of play around with it and visually just kind of push the envelope of what the character is, because in the end it's still a cartoon, so you want to have fun with it, and
Yeah.
putting him in different situations that will create those fun moments and expression changes or body changing in some kind of way that kind of breaks the model.
Now, the show has had, a lot of small Easter eggs, and other just mentions of big characters throughout, such as, Sam Wilson's Captain America showed up briefly for a shot. Have there been any other notable cut cameos throughout the series that just haven't made it yet?
No. Marvel's been an incredible partner through all of this. And our show we like to think of as MCU complementary. So that, we're all big fans of the films. So we try to kind of throw in stuff here and there, references from the films, references from the comics, even references from comics, that Rodney and I, read in the 70s and 80s. So it's all kind of thrown into the mix. Nothing has gotten cut, but I will say that season 2 has more Marvel references in it than season 1. Season 1, we really kind of wanted Lunella LaFayette to kind of stand on her own and her story to be her own. But with season 2, now that we're moving into a different emotional territory for her, we feel very comfortable bringing in a lot more Marvel references. There's definitely a couple of characters that's really going to surprise even the most dedicated Marvel fan this season.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned the MCU, and I wanted to ask, Do you guys think one day that Lunella is going to show up in the MCU? And if she does, what do you guys want to see from her live action adaptation?
Sorry to say, I mean, I would love to see what they would do with Lunella in the MCU. You know, I think that we set a pretty good example of like what we can do, what they can do with Lunella. But in terms of like a movie version, I would love to see her hanging out with Shuri or Riri Williams, you know, working together on something that's going to save the Earth or some multiverse or somewhere, something. So that'd be cool to see that.
Yeah. Now, season two introduces Molecule Man in its first episode. Why was now the time to bring him into the picture?
Well, in all the episodes we've ever done for the show, we've always kind of started with the relatable human emotion thematically. So is this episode about jealousy, impatience, anger, fear? And then we found the right villain to kind of complement her story. Molecule Man is a really interesting character because the character has gone through, certainly in the first episode, a lot of loss, and he's somewhat of a relatable character, but it's rage of the injustice that really drives his villainy. With Edward James Olmos's performance on there, that character is definitely a force to be reckoned with, and easily the most dangerous character Lunella has ever faced. And I think it has a long-lasting impact on her. Definitely, she's shaken by her encounter with Molecule Man, and I think that does affect a good portion of the season.
Yeah. And on a similar note, we get Molecule Man and we also get Kid Kree. Why was he the perfect addition to Moon Girl's world, kind of on a different level than Molecule Man?
Well, you get that aspect of there's a little bit of like will they or won't they aspect of that you get as being a teenager or teenage girl dealing with emotions and things like that, but also as a Kid Kree is in the actual Marvel book comic, Moon Girl comic, so it was great to just kind of pay homage to that actual character that was in the show, in the comic book. So and to create this kind of weird tension and also this camaraderie that they have because they're both into science and what Kid Kree goes through as Marvin, as Melvar actually, with his father who can't relate to him being into science. He wants him to be a warrior and this great warrior, but I love science. So to find someone of Lunella as a soulmate, a soul nerd, as Casey would say, and then he can like have this outlet to do his science with. It was something that we love to have that playing around with that, and then also the fact that they don't know that they are both enemies or antagonists against each other. So there's like a lot of good to play around with that kind of that storyline also.
Now, my last question for you guys. For those who have yet to give the show a chance, what would you tell them going into season two that might convince them that, okay, maybe I will give this a shot?
Well, I may be biased, but I think it's a great show. I think that what we've done is we've kind of taken our love of Marvel, taken a Disney storytelling approach, and really kind of combined them into something which is unique, not only for Disney's catalog, but even for Marvel's catalog. It's so strong in music and so strong in visuals that if you enjoyed Spider-Verse, I feel like give Moon Girl a chance because I feel like it's cut from the same cloth. And I just really feel it, particularly this season, is so dynamic. It's the Empire Strikes Back of the Moon Girl story, frankly. Yeah, and I'm just hoping people watch it because we definitely have more stories to tell. We already have kind of planned out a season 3, and we really would like to tell it. But yeah, so we're just hoping that everyone kind of joins us for this crazy ride.